I'm just setting up the live stream, won't be long. Okay. So today we're going to be flying the King Air from Palmer Buddy Woods down to Juneau, and we're going through the mountains to do it. So we've got a handcrafted route through the mountains. We'll be using GPS most of the way, but obviously we'll have to control the airplane. So I haven't been in the King Air for ages, so this is going to be a voyage of discovery, or a memory, testing my memory out. So Control 5 takes us over to the co-pilot switch, and we can choose the avionics hardware. I think, yeah, we'll go with the GTN XI. That's fine. Central pedestal, power leaders to ground fine. I think that's ground fine. We'll find out in a moment. Propeller levers to fully forwards. And condition levers to cutoff, which is good. So Control 4 brings us over to master power and generator. So the battery goes to on or up. So I'm just going to remind myself where things are in here. Then overhead, listen to me. Overhead, Control and 8, FSB, no smoking signs goes on. And then Control 4 brings us back down into the cockpit. Beacon light can go on. So beacon's over the other side of the landing gear control over there. Ignition and engine start section. I'm just going to have a little look around this to remind myself where everything is. So we've got ignition and engine start. We've got the inverters. We've got the avionics. We've got the generators there. Okay, so we're going to do right engine start. So right goes up. Control 1. And we can do this from the F key actually. We don't have to do any of that. So we can see the engine spinning up, and we can see the RPM coming up. When it goes past 12%, which it already has, we can advance this to low idle. So we're now looking for the RPM to go past 50. And it's done so. So let's go and get this out of the way for a moment. So the start can go back to off now. Okay, we're just waiting for things to calm down. So then we can do exactly the same for the left engine. So starter goes on. Keep an eye on the needle when it goes past 12%. Advance. And we can also go and put the generator on for the right engine. I think this is already running. Waiting for this to come up past 50%, and then we can turn the starter off. There it goes. And then we can turn on and reset the generator for the left engine. So post engine start, auto feather. This is where I'm going to get lost looking for things. So it's on the pilot switch panel. Auto feather goes to armed. On the central pedestal, the passenger oxygen can go to on. If I can remember where it is. So we pull the lever, here it is. No, that's the landing gear alternate extension. Okay, has this changed or am I being obscured? So there's the oxygen. Pull on system ready. Yeah, okay. Oh, that's the landing gear. Yeah, that is the oxygen. I'm being stupid. It's that long since I've been in this aeroplane, I can't remember. So then we go and turn the rudder boost on and the electric trim on, and then set the initial cabin altitude. That's absolutely fine as it is. Then Control 5 brings us over to the co-pilot switch panel. We put the left bleed air open, right bleed air to open, cabin temp mode to auto, so it already is, and the vent blower to auto or down. The cabin section, cabin master goes to on or up. So where is the cabin master? Here we go. And then over on the pilot switch panel, in both the inverters can go on now. Avionics master to on. And we can come up and calibrate the altimeter. Just done that. Align the HSI if it isn't aligned. It was already aligned. Okay, so let's go and sort out the GPS, shall we? So continue, continue, continue. I don't think it will have a flight plan in it. No, it won't. Menu, catalog,
menu, system test OK.
Import. There's our plan, and there's the many, many steps of the plan. Just get rid of the message there. So we'll activate that plan. Replace the current route, yes. Come back out of here, go to the map, and zoom out a bit. We can see the beginnings of our route heading south out of here. Okay, weather radar's already on, that's interesting. I didn't put it on. Should we just do a check of engine condition? Yeah, let's go and repair the engine before we get going. Must have damaged that last time I flew the aeroplane, whenever that was, many, many months ago. Okay, so altitude pre-selector, we can do this from the cockpit view. We'll be flying most of it at about 5,000 feet, I would imagine. So check the primary flight controls. It's all looking good. Throttles seem to be in the right places. So let's try exercising the engines. Yep. Okay, so we want to go and put the nav lights on and the recognition lights on. Let's go and have a look at this outside. Yep, we have lights. It's getting a bit brighter outside. It was really dark when I first spawned in. So we've got live weather on, so it might be quite exciting on the way out today. We need to get the cabin temperature sorted out as well. So where is... Oh, there are digital readouts on this aeroplane, aren't they? Well, I thought they were. Okay, there's the cabin temperature. So 55, so 13 centigrade. Let's go and get the heat up and running before we go anywhere. So I'll put the vent blower on. Electric heating on. And we'll see how we go. We can always adjust it as we go. Zoom out. So we're going to be turning a roundabout when we take off. So let's have a look at this. So we've got... Whoa, didn't mean to do that. So saying external power is available, we're not using it. It's complaining about propeller propeller pitch. So if we just sit it on the parking brake for a moment. Yeah, it goes out as soon as the pitch kicks in. Okay, what's the warning we got behind there? Electric heat on. It's not a warning. Okay, we've got no warnings up here. We can get rid of the master caution. That's just because of the propeller pitch again. So we are pretty much ready to go. I'm just going to double check. So yeah, we're going to put the taxi lights on. Let's go and pop this off a second. Should we have a look at those taxi lights? So we finally have an aeroplane that's actually got loads of things to play with to keep us busy en route. Just come off the parking brake. Let's go and have a look at Navigraph at the departure airfield. And we can open the information on the airport to go for weather. So wind 90 degrees, 9 knots, so it's just a crosswind, so we may as well just double back and take off to the south. So somebody's asking in the live stream chat about when I'm going to put the next load of A380 videos out. I don't know. Soon. It's fairly straightforward to fly. It works much like other Airbuses. Let's get on the runway. I need to put some lights on, don't I? It's quite dim inside the cockpit. Let's put the parking brake on a second. Look at those mountains out there. They're amazing, aren't they? Sorry. Turn head tracking off for a moment just to sort this out. So we want the landing lights on now. We want the... We don't need ice lights on. I don't think... Where's the outside air temperature? Is it... There's the fuel, both sides. Does this have it on an instrument, or do we have to actually go look somewhere? I have a funny feeling it's hidden away. We need to check the CDI mode. It's on GPS. I'm just looking for the outside air temperature. Is there a dial somewhere on the glass? No. Is it up here? No. Because that's the cabin temperature, but ideally I'd like to know how cold it is outside. I know we can get it in the depths of this system, but we'll see. I'll have a dig around while we're flying. Okay. Head tracking on. Center it up. Yeah, that crosswind is going to try and push us across the runway. And gently rotate. Gear up. It's moving around in the wind a little bit, isn't it? Oh, I was going to put the interior lights on, wasn't I? Completely forgot. I'll put the strobes on as well while we're at it. Where are they? That's better. Gonna get pelted with rain now. Perfect. Ah, there it is. So we want to press that. -5 outside. Okay, great. So we probably do want to have some ice protection on. And the pitot heats. Otherwise we'll have no instrumentation. So it's giving an altitude alert because we came through our anticipated ceiling. I'm going to set that out to 10,000 feet. So there's our route. We're just turning back around towards it. Moving the controls with head tracking on is incredibly difficult. Much more difficult than you would think it would be. There we go, we're back to 5,000. So maybe we will level out for 5,000. So if we go and put the autopilot on, and let's have a look what modes we've got. So we'll go altitude hold for the moment, and we'll go nav mode. And it should snap across gently. So yeah, let's pull this back for 5. Okay, we can't do hundreds of feet apparently. Interesting. Unless there's some trick to it. Oh, push for hundreds. That would make sense, wouldn't it? So hopefully we'll come out of this weather fairly soon. Yeah, I've got the a lot of the anti-icing stuff on already. Surface de-ice single. Brake de-ice. So we've got the pitot on. I guess we ought to do the fuel vents as well. But yeah, like I said, it's going to clear up. So this is going to be probably the prettiest route we've done. Because yeah, we're going to go through the mountains on purpose all the way. How are we doing for speed? 240 knots, that's perfect. And how are we doing for propeller synchronization? That's really good as well. There is a prop sync option, we'll switch it on now. So as long as you get into the neighborhood, it will look after it for you. So I have programmed the whole route as GPS, so it should be fairly straightforward. Famous last words. We will keep an eye on it though, to see if we get too close to any mountainsides along the way. How are we doing for sound? Haven't checked it yet, have I? Yeah, so you can hear me over the engines. Keep an eye on these temperatures. Torque is good. Propeller RPM is good. There are some keys to do this, aren't there? Where is it? It's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 1 was the one I was looking for. Although even that doesn't line up on them. There we go. So fuel flow's fine, oil's fine. Play with the nav radios along the way, I suppose. There's not going to be much in the way of beacons though. We just need to be mindful as we come up some of these glaciers to climb. So if you go and look really closely at them, you can see we're up to 6,000 feet, look, 8,000 feet and so on. So when we make the turn at Glacier View, we'll climb for 10,000. So we're going up there. There you can see this glacier is climbing beneath us. Or it's not glacier here, this is a lake, isn't it? But further on it will suddenly climb. Let's go and check those altitudes. So as we come up here, it's 1,600 feet, up to 2,000, suddenly up to 3, 4, 5, yeah, 2,700 feet. but then all the way up here it's going to be climbing 3,000 feet, 3,500, 4,000, 4,500, 5,000, 6,000, 8,000, 9,000, just as we come out of the top. So if we go for 11,000 feet when we make the turn, we'll be unsighted for a while. We may even come out above the cloud. Should go and have a gaze out of the window as we're flying along. So 3 minutes until we get to the next turn. Most of the legs are sort of 10, 15, 20 miles between waypoints. Some of them are a little bit shorter to make sure we stay in the low points of valleys, but otherwise it should be fairly spectacular all the way. Look at that weather. So we may have some visibility issues in a few minutes, but it will hopefully clear up. Oh, it's a shame we're going to miss the glacier. Let's have a look at the map briefly. Yeah, so we're going to have to get 10,000 feet pretty quickly, so, well, 11 really, to clear the top. So I'm going to ask this to do it now. So there's our vertical speed. Let's go for a bit more. So gone a bit high there. There we go, 1,000 feet a minute. Perfect. And we've lost all visibility for a little while. There's the sun. Thankfully we can see exactly where we are on the map. Yeah, I know I've left it in low idle. There's an interesting point about this. It won't make much difference. I had a conversation with a pilot of the real thing who was in the middle of an argument with another pilot of the real thing, of the King Air. It's surprising how many people fly around with these on low idle, because it's cheaper. But no, it's a subtle difference, and the simulator doesn't simulate it properly, the difference between the two. So it's a failing of the sim, really. But you'll notice it didn't make really much difference in terms of power output. That was a long time ago, that conversation. I'd forgotten all about it until you said that, and it reminded me. It's a bit like the the problems the sim has, or historically has had, with manifold pressure and the relationship between air and fuel and altitude and pressure, and so that's why some of the planes like the A2A simulate outside of the sim. So they kind of take over. And they take over the sound generation as well. So we're coming up slowly, so we're up to 8,000 feet already. Can we see anything outside at all yet? No. Oh, it's a shame, isn't it? Because that would have been probably spectacular to have seen this glacier. So let's go and have a look on Navigraph at the weather charts and see how far the weather extends. So we're just making our way up the glacier here. If we go and put the weather on, and we'll change the chart so we can see the weather to auto IFR for the moment. It's going to get worse. That's 22,000 feet though, so... Oh, crikey. We would literally need to be at 25,000 feet to see any, to come out of it. Right, we're going to turn the weather off. Otherwise, we're not going to get to see anything. We'll put a few clouds on instead. That's what we were supposed to be seeing. This enormous glacier. Should we just go for high altitude cloud so we don't get clouds in the way either? Let's try each one out and see what it looks like. So that's scattered, that's broken. That's better, isn't it? So coming up to 10,000, heading for 11. It should be just about enough. You can see the areas that are the same altitude as us are in red on the navigation display, and we're within 1,000 feet of our target, so we're just going to skim the top of the hills. Let's increase the range on this. It's a shame the weather was so atrocious. It would have been quite atmospheric with some mist pouring down the valleys, wouldn't it? Over the glaciers. Shall we look from outside? That glacier. It's awesome, isn't it? Okay, let's keep an eye on altitude of stuff around us. We should be okay for a little while. As soon as we clear this ridge. I don't trust this, because this is showing elements of little bits of red here and there. Should we take manual control just to get through here?
Terrain ahead. Terrain ahead.
Inhibitors. Again. So let's go for the gap.
$500.
Okay, so we can start bringing the altitude back down a bit. Okay, let's go and bring ourselves down to about 8,000 maybe. Just keep an eye on the speed. It doesn't creep up too much. We could use indicated airspeed mode as well, of course. Should we try it? So if we go for IAS mode, it will measure it at the point we do it, and then when we pull the throttles back, the plane will dive to maintain the speed at the point at which we pressed it. Just have to be careful about our ears popping. So we're coming down at 2,000 feet a minute. I think we're going to go up that glacier over there, or lake. Yeah, so the inlet, sorry. So we'll be fairly low for a while after we get there. There's a nice view. Look at that glacier beneath us. It's crazy, isn't it? It doesn't look real. So I've got a, just reading the live stream there about somebody wasting time watching someone trying to start an A380. I've got a document on how to do that and a video. It's not too difficult. Okay, we're just coming down to 8,000 feet. So let's drop another couple of thousand feet. Come down to 5 again, where we were at the start. And if we go to, what speed are we doing? So So down to 50% throttle. Seems to be quite a happy amount. If you go between 75% throttle at cruise and then drop to 50%, you get about a 2,000 foot descent rate. So we're going to be flying up here in a moment. If we zoom out, we can see the route. Yeah. So we carry on all the way up that valley. Drop another couple of thousand feet. So if we go and have a look on the map, we can see where we've got to. So we're going to be following the low part of this valley. That's the only real point where we get any rise up towards us, but it's only a couple of thousand feet. So it should be fairly good all the way at 5,000, hopefully. There's some corners we'll have to be aware of. 2,500 feet. Depends how the autopilot cuts the corner, really. Again, 2,500 feet, coming up for 3,000. And then it climbs again through here, I'm guessing. Can't see any. Oh, here we go. So yeah, 5,500, look. So it's climb, climb, climb. Probably up to about 10, 11,000 feet again up here. Should we have a look? It's 2,000 meters. Yeah. So we've crossed over. It's feet in Alaska, meters in Canada. So you need to be careful. It's interesting, isn't it? You can see it loading the higher resolution textures in at a given distance. So the airplane's about to make a right turn in a moment. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. I got that a bit wrong, didn't I? There we go. It's just doing it now. Yeah, I just multiply meters by 3 to get approximate feet usually in my head. I know it's not exactly accurate, but for working in your head it's enough usually. Okay, so what's the outside air temperature? There's not much cloud around, is there? There's none now, so we could go and turn a lot of this off. So the windshield heating can come off. The stall warning and pitot can stay on. The fuel vent heating can come off. The propeller heating can come off. Because we put a high altitude cloud in, we got rid of the real weather, didn't we? Is there anyone flying behind me today? Doesn't look like it. Oh, there is, sorry. There we go. Probably the person who asked. That's the way it usually works on Flight Sim. Okay. So it's follow the valleys, basically. We're going all the way up there to the left. Should we do some hand flying for a bit? Autopilot off. Let's speed back up as well. We'd slowed right down. It's complaining now about the altitude, but that's fine. Can we not kill the altitude alert? Presumably if we just wind it completely off, that will shut it up, won't it? I'm going to drop down into the bottom of the valley and hand fly for a while, just to keep it interesting.
$500.
Yeah, just reading the live stream comments there. Everybody has gone a bit A380 mad, haven't they? I know, I get it. It's free and it's new and people have been waiting a long time for it. But it's an Airbus at the end of the day. It works like an Airbus. It is good though. It's really, really good. There's a few bugs in it still.
500.
I'm sure they'll sort them out over time. Okay. So we can see where we are. So straight line across these mud flats into the opposite valley, basically. Going to recalibrate the altimeter because it's wrong because of the weather, obviously. So let's take this up to 3,000 feet. Put it back on the GPS track. So it's still in a nav mode. I'm going to go make a coffee in a moment. While I have the chance. God, this thing's climbing like a missile, isn't it? Okay, that's interesting. It didn't accept the targeted altitude. I wondered what was going on. No doubt it's something I've missed. So let's stop it climbing, trim it back out. There we go, that's better. Okay. Yeah, this area hasn't got as much ice and snow, has it? It's interesting. It shows that on the terrain view as well. Just north of that line, for some reason, there's not as much snow. So let's take this back up to 5,000. There's no hurry to do it. 500 feet a minute's fine. Keep the speed up, which will lessen the journey time. So Neon Guy is saying, hi man, how come no one is flying the A380? Well, I kind of did for the first week it was out, but if I just kept playing the same thing all the time, it'd get really boring. So we're within 1,000 feet of our target altitude. See how far we've got along here before it gets higher. I think we'll be fine at 5,000 for a little while. Enough time for me to go make a drink anyway. So I'll be back in a bit. So yeah, we can see on here, look, the red areas, which are the same altitude as us. So we should, with a little bit of luck, stay well away from them. So I'll put it on the outside view for a bit. And I'll be back in a minute. turn back. So this was one of those hillsides where I was a little bit worried whether we'd be okay or not. But it's looking like it's fine. Look, this ridge is only a couple of thousand feet. And we should do another right turn very soon. It's just doing a nice gentle sweeping turn, isn't it? Rounding the corners off. The GTN XI is very, very good at doing that. You can see, look, there's the vector and there's the rounded track. It's great at it. But then you'd expect the actual Garmin software to be good at it, wouldn't you? I will admit I'm a little bit distracted tonight looking in on the news. Obviously I'm not going to talk about politics on the channel, but it's interesting. And please don't start any fighting in the comments. It's just, yeah. It's hard to concentrate on anything else. So how long is it now until 2024 comes out? It's the 5th today, so 2 weeks, just over 2 weeks. Is it the 20th it arrives? Something like that. Or 19th? Yeah. It's exciting. So I'll be doing a wipe of the computer. No, I'll just remove flights in 2020. And I'll start with a clean slate. I won't be adding any add-ons for a while. I'll just go with the stock aeroplanes and work through them, doing videos and live streams and recording procedures for the ones that haven't got much in the way of documentation. And yeah, it's going to be good fun. 2020 will be supported for a long time, don't worry. Yeah, and you can install them alongside each other. So you don't have to remove it. I'm just going to, so I don't have stuff clogging my computer up. And most software that exists for, that interoperates with 2020 will work exactly the same with 2024, so I wouldn't worry too much. What's my first assignment going to be? My first thing I'll do with the new sim will be live streaming probably the career journey. And yeah, work straight through it and get all of the qualifications one after another. And see how difficult it is. It can't be that hard, can it? Flying airplanes isn't that difficult. This is 2020 we're looking at today, for anybody that's wondering. I've not got the alpha. I've not taken part in any of the alpha or beta programs for 2024. I've not got any sort of special status with a SOBO or anything, so don't worry. I'm in the same boat as everybody else, and I'm waiting until it comes out. I could have gone and got the technical preview, but I chose not to. These glaciers are amazing, aren't they? Like huge ice motorways through the mountains. Turn the head tracking off for a moment so I can have a drink. Otherwise it will wobble the camera all over the place. Fair bit of turbulence going on by the look of it. Yeah, look at that being thrown around. Oh my word. So we will be climbing it in a little while. I'll show you why. So we're just coming through. As we come up here, this is much higher altitude up here. So let's go and find the contour lines. 5,600 feet. 5,200. 5,500. 6,000. 6,500, and then we're into Canada again, and we're back into meters. How we doing on the... We're just under 90% on the torque. Hovering at about 245 knots. RPM's incredibly high though. Let's pull the RPM down a bit. It's funny, you talk to turboprop pilots and they talk about the RPM being a volume control. That doesn't have much bearing on the speed of the aeroplane. There should be some water down here, and then we turn left. I might intervene in a moment if we get too close to this hillside. It's a pretty close one, isn't it? That's funny. Imagine being a passenger on here. I'm saying, there's a hillside right there. So as you can see from the red areas, we'll be fine for a little while yet. See how the engines are doing. 100%. They're absolutely fine. We've looked after them well. And you do need to keep an eye on fuel levels. We're fine. For some reason, Simbrief seemed to think that this version of the King Air couldn't fly as far as this flight plan, but we appear to be fine. And we are probably over a third of the way now. Have I disabled the in-game ATC? No, but I loaded my own flight plan as a VFR plan. ATC only kicks in automatically if you do an IFR plan on the map screen. I loaded my own plan in... Actually, I loaded it into the GTNXI, didn't I? But if you do an IFR flight in the world map screen, the radios will be tuned in automatically. You can obviously go and turn them on while you're in the aeroplane. So we're out in the sticks though, so I don't think we'll be able to tune into anything worth talking to. Is there any... Let's go and have a look. Anchorage area control 119. Well, we can do it on scroll lock, can't we? Tune Anchorage Center even.
Anchorage Center Beechcraft Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra is type Beechcraft King Air Tree 5 miles southeast of Alpha Kilo 05,000 feet. Request clearance to transition Charlie airspace. Beechcraft Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Anchorage Center. Squawk 4246. Squawk 4246 Beechcraft X-Ray Golf Sierra. Beechcraft X-Ray Golf Sierra radar contact tree 6 miles southeast of Alpha Kilo 05,000 feet. Cleared through the Charlie airspace.
It's already done it. Sorry, it's already done the squawk for us, look.
Cleared through the Charlie airspace Beechcraft X-Ray Golf Sierra.
So we need to climb. As I said, we would need to. Because we're going to go up through that pass. So that's about 1,000 feet a minute. I've just gone and clicked something down here, and I'm not sure what I clicked. Looks okay. We corrected the barometric pressure only about 10 minutes ago, so it's fine. The altimeters are correct. They only changed a lot, obviously, because we changed the weather. So let's go and zoom out on this. So yeah, we're not high enough yet, look, to clear the pass, but we're climbing as we go. So let's go and give this a bit more climb rate. So up to 2,000 feet a minute, and you can see, look, it's changing the scope as we get there. So we're down to about 230 knots, 220 knots. We're just going to skim the top of the glacier. By the time we get there, we'll be high enough. Not a problem. Glaciers are amazing, aren't they? Oh, the cabin pressure. So yeah, but we're only going to go to about 8,000 or 9,000 feet, and then we'll start dropping again. So there's really no problem temporarily being at 10,000. It's interesting. I think we've talked about this on the channel before. Male and female experiences in terms of pressurization or lack of oxygen is quite different, apparently. It's quite common that men can deal with altitude better than women can. I'm not quite sure how many studies have been done on it. But it does seem to be a thing for whatever reason. Our physiology must be slightly different in terms of, you know, the way oxygen is processed, I guess. So do I need to go and pressurize the cabin just to stop people going on at me about it? Just doing a quick scan, see how everything's looking. Oh, he's talking to us, isn't he? Sorry. Acknowledge handoff.
119.0 Beechcraft X-Ray Golf Sierra. Goodbye.
That was quite amusing. Yeah, we don't need to be any higher than this. So let's go and stop the climb at 9,000. Bring it back down slowly to... Is it going to allow it to happen? It keeps capturing at 9,400. Oh, of course, it's over here, that's why, idiot. Because I pressed the altitude button. Vertical speed, down. So it reread it again. If I had a brain, I'd be dangerous. There we go, we're just creeping back down again. So, hang on a second, I'm just going to read the live stream comments here. Do you change the pressure often when travelling at this height? No. So you're on about the QNH here, aren't you? Hang on a minute, I need to make sure what's going on here with the route. Okay, we are going that way, so we are going to need to climb a little bit more. I'll show you, I'll have a talk about this in a moment. So we've got oxygen. Yeah, I think it's automatic in this aircraft. It's doing it itself. It's coming up with the altitude. You just need to make sure it's switched on. Yeah, it's on. Cabin altitude's on auto at the moment, which is why these needles are moving already. Obviously you can control it as well. So somebody was asking about resetting the barometric pressure. The way it works in most of the world, I've got a video about this actually to explain it to people, because I've done loads of group flights with big jets, so you're manipulating QNH all the time because of that. When you depart any airfield or in any region of the world, there is a local altitude level called the transition height and transition level. Transition height will be below the transition level. Below the transition height, which in the UK is usually about 5,000 or 6,000 feet, in America the whole of the US is 18,000 feet. Below the transition height, you set your QNH to the local barometric pressure, so that'll be your departure airport and then your arrival airport. Above the transition height, you set it to the standard, which is the same all over the world, which is 2992 millibars or 1013 hectopascals, which means that anybody above the transition altitude in that airspace has their altimeter tuned the same as each other. So the planes agree with each other in terms of how high they are. So if one plane says they're at 5,000 feet, at 20,000 feet, and another plane says they're at 20,000 feet, they are both in relation to each other at the same height. It's to avoid one thinking they're at 22, one thinking they're at 20, and they're actually at the same, and they hit each other. I don't know if it's ever happened, but that's why above the transition altitude, everybody tunes to the same barometric pressure as each other, which is the standard barometric pressure. The transition level is the first flight level you would fly at above the transition altitude. So when you are commanded by air traffic control to climb to a flight level, it is read to you as a level, and it's in hundreds typically, like 360 would be 36,000 feet. So it's in hundreds of feet. So the first altitude you would be commanded to above the transition altitude is the flight level, or transition level. It's the lowest flight level above the transition altitude. Hopefully that makes some sense. But different areas of the world have different transition altitudes. So in the UK, typically it's about 6,000 feet. So you are on local barometric pressure while you are at the airfield taking off. So your altitude is accurate to the ground. Once you are above 6,000 feet in the UK, for example, you tune your QNH. You can see here it's at 2992. You tune your QNH to standard, which is 2992, and that means that at altitude all of the aeroplanes are reading the same scale as each other in terms of how high they are. They all agree with each other. Once you descend to your destination airport, when you come down through the local transition altitude, you retune your altimeter to the correct pressure for where you're going. So when you get near the ground, your altitude will agree with all of the charts of, you know, how high above sea level the ground actually is. So one way to think of it is while you're at low altitude, you're tuning your altimeter for the ground. When you're at high altitude, You are tuning your altimeter to agree with other aeroplanes. But the whole bit around flight levels, you only really get into that if you go after the big jets. If you're doing GA, you'll never go high enough. Certainly in the US, you'd never go high enough to even worry about it. Oh, I didn't know that. So, oh yeah, you can pull to use millibars. There we go, look. So there's millibars, or hectopascals is the correct name. And there's inches. So yeah, just to make it more fun, the rating of calibration of altimeters, there's two scales, a bit like Celsius and Fahrenheit with temperature. But for air pressure, you've both got the metric and the imperial system in use all over the world. So America uses the imperial system still, which is inches or millibars. Sorry, inches, and then millibars or hectopascals is the metric system. Anyway, I've got a whole video about it with visual aids. It's one of the very few videos where I made diagrams to explain it. I also explained what QFE means and things like that. So I went a bit mad one afternoon. Half of it was I was teaching myself, and I thought I'm going to make this for the benefit of everybody because it made sense to you. Are we landing on an ice runway? No, I don't think we are. So we'll just stay at altitude for the moment. Where are we? Here we are. So if we had the live weather on, look, we would have had a clear patch there. Or clearing. And but we're about to go into the foggy soup again. So let's just have a little look at the plan. So we are going to cross this line of hills. We're at 11,000 feet. Let's go up to 15 just to make certain. This plane can easily do this, by the way. It's not a problem. The other thing to take note of if you're learning all about this, so yeah, as somebody else mentioned, the reason for all of these problems is that the altimeter reads its numbers from air pressure. As you get higher in the sky, the air pressure goes down. There's less oxygen at high altitude, or less air pressure, not just oxygen, but less air pressure at high altitude. The same is true of the indicated airspeed. So it looks like we've slowed down. We haven't, we've got higher. Our ground speed will be different than our airspeed. Yeah, you can see, look, ground speed 260 knots. That's how fast we're actually going across the ground. The indicated airspeed meter says we're doing just over 200 because it's reading air pressure and the air is thinner up here. The higher we get, the thinner it gets. So, same deal, which is why the big commercial jets, once you get past about 25,000 feet, they automatically disregard knots and go after Mach number instead because it's more accurate. Because yeah, the higher you get, the more useless indicated airspeed becomes because the air becomes so thin that the disparity is just ridiculous. because the air is thin, that means it can move around faster. So it's not unusual at high altitudes to get winds of well over 100 miles or 100 knots. I did a group flight just recently and we had 120 knot winds. But that's because the air is thinner up there, therefore it can move around a lot more easily. And the higher you get, the bigger that problem becomes. Okay, we're just coming up to 15,000, we're within 1,000 feet now. So we'll level out and leave the throttles open for a bit and speed back up. But yeah, well look, we're still doing 250 knots ground speed. So the one thing to remember if you do get involved in listening to ATC or whatever, when you hear the altitude being commanded by ATC to an aeroplane, that below the transition altitude they will command it in thousands of feet. Above the transition altitude they will command it in flight levels. And if you remember, a flight level is times 100. So 360 is 36,000 feet. 120, although you wouldn't hear this in the US because the lowest one in the US will be 18,000 feet. Then above that you're going to get flight level 200, for example. Just to make it more fun, although it's not a rule, there is a, how would you put this, a convention that aircraft travelling east travel at odd numbered altitudes, whereas aircraft travelling west travel at even numbered altitudes. There's a mnemonic for it to remember it. The east is odd and west is even odder. But the whole point of that is, say you're doing the transatlantic crossing and you've got whole streams of aircraft going both directions. It means you might have head-on aircraft but separated by a few thousand feet. So you're always going to have 2,000 feet between, sorry, at least 1,000 feet, sorry, between east and west travelling aircraft. There is a story I read about, not very long ago, that two Concords crossed on the transatlantic route, went past each other at, within 1,000 feet altitude, and on very close tracks to each other. And the pilots informed the passengers, and they watched them go by. And you don't realise how fast Concorde went until you're going the opposite direction to another Concorde. So their closure rate was Mach 4. It was literally the blink of an eye, and it went from a speck in the distance to gone past. I don't think the passengers on board actually saw much of it, even if they did. I think the crew did, obviously, because they could see it miles out in front of them. But even so, the closure rate was just frightening. I think the most impressive video I've seen on YouTube of like absolute, out and out speed was the space shuttle. There's a video from, I think it may have been the last space shuttle flight. There's a video from a commercial aircraft about 100 miles downrange from the shuttle takeoff. And I think they're at like 36,000 feet. And the shuttle takes off and you see this like bright star light up on the ground. And by the time it gets to 30,000 feet, obviously it's doing several times the speed of sound and accelerating hard and going up past the commercial air traffic. It was absolutely amazing to watch. But you can find that on YouTube. If you search for a shuttle launch from a passenger or from a commercial aircraft, you'll find it. It was really amazing to watch. This scenery is incredible out here, isn't it? I think the thing that always impresses me about this entire hobby, interest, whatever you want to call it, is there's always something new to learn. And yeah, I know a little bit, and obviously I've read because I'm interested in it, about all these different things, and put some of it into practice in group flights with the big jets and stuff like that. But there's always more to learn. And the whole procedural side of things is just, you know, never ending. About, you know, how the real pilots do things, what the real procedures are like, the whole communication, the radio telephony procedures with air traffic control. That's not as scary as people think. People always forget ATC is there to help you. And the only reason for repeating back everything is because ATC wants to make sure that you've heard the instruction correctly. They're not testing you. They're just being safe. So we're going to stay at altitude across this landscape. It's amazing up here, isn't it? So we'll come back out of it in about another 50 miles or so, and then we'll descend down, and it'll be fairly low all the way in to Juneau. All I'm doing is sharing, just reading the comments there, all I'm doing is sharing the bits I've picked up along the way. In the same way that I listen to other people or read about them, and yeah, passing it on. It's funny, the more you know, the more you realise you don't know. It's like the management of the engines and stuff in this aeroplane. Yeah, we're keeping things within limits and looking after it, but the real world, it's not just what the gauges say, it's the understanding of what's behind them and what causes particular things and how to circumvent that, or how to, you know, correct issues. The simulator has got a lot better in showing you some of those things happening. But modern aeroplanes are obviously very good as well. A bit like modern cars, where you don't have to babysit them quite so much as you maybe once would have had to. You know, you get in your car in the morning, you turn the key, you expect it to start. That wasn't always the way. Of course, it's all changed now with electric cars as well. So we've just got our first electric car. A little while ago. It's been a learning experience, or unlearning more than anything. It's not only is it fully automatic, it also helps you in all sorts of ways. Mind you, we're coming off the back of having 3 daughters and 25 years of driving around in old bangers that had been wrecked by the kids. Okay, approaching the next turning point. And I think that's the valley we're going to fly down over there. If we zoom out, yeah. If you look down here, look. It's there. So we can start descending. So if we chop the height back to 10,000 now, we've got away from the highest part of the route. And we'll just keep coming down as it suits us to do so. So, vertical speed. What speed are we doing at the moment? About 230. So let's go for indicated airspeed mode. So it reads it at the point we press it, remember. Then we just pull the throttle back. And to maintain speed, it will dive. And it's coming down at 2,500 feet a minute. This will make it won't make everyone's ears pop because we're in a pressurized cabin. There is a risk. Again, this is where the book knowledge comes in, which I don't have. The cabin pressurization system is on auto. Notice, I don't know if it's got anything about it here, about increasing or decreasing the rate of pressurization. I don't know if you can control it in this aeroplane, but yeah, there will be a maximum rate at which you can ascend or descend, and it be able to maintain cabin pressure properly. When the 727 came out a little while ago for Flight Sim, and I was learning that and documenting it and trying to figure out procedures to avoid disaster. When it was first released, they didn't allow the pressurization system to change quickly enough. So you really had to manage it on climb to avoid pressurization issues. But it turned out that was actually a bit of a bug, and they'd overdone it. And then the first time it was updated by the developers, that problem went away. Ah, so Patrick's saying you can do it. If I can move the camera around. So there's the cabin altitude. Same place where you set the cabin altitude, it's on the left. So that's the system. Where's the actual meter for setting it? There's a radar altitude, or radio altitude. That's a good point, actually. Where is the setting for it? Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, there it is, look. Thousands of feet per minute that it's adjusting it by. Oh, being a moron, aren't I? Yeah, there it is. And there's the rate, yeah. So there will be a maximum rate though, and again you'd need to know the book numbers to know what that maximum rate is. Yeah, so you can adjust, obviously we have an automatic. Yeah, this is where you really need the documentation to know at what phase of flight you set it to what values and in what conditions you do it, and yeah, and what can go wrong with it, and all the rest of it. We're in blissful ignorance at the moment. I can't even say the word, blissful ignorance. Yeah, so 1,000 foot a minute would agree with a normal climb rate or descent rate, wouldn't it? Unlike me descending like, yeah, wings are falling off. So we can probably drop back down to 5,000 feet. So we'll do it on, what speed are we doing? Oh, we're going quite slow. Let's speed up, and we use indicated airspeed mode again. I forgot to accelerate again. Let's push the throttles up a bit. Look at the torque. That's something else that's worth talking about, actually, although it's not, turboprops aren't as affected by it. At higher altitudes, in a combustion engine, you'll have seen the whole problem with manifold pressure inside the engine. Obviously, as you climb higher in the sky and the air gets thinner, your engine can't develop as much pressure. Therefore, you become altitude limited in terms of throttle instead of manifold pressure limited. So, you know, like in a combustion engine, in an airplane, you can actually go beyond the manifold pressure limits when you're at low altitudes. The higher you get, you can't do that anymore. So you run out of power because you've just run out of pressure in the engine, basically, that can be developed. And that's why superchargers exist, which compress the air for the engine. So that's why you get things like the DC-6, where you can use superchargers to pre-compress the air going into the cylinders. I don't think, I'm just reading the comments now, I don't think I've ever sworn on the channel. The one thing I've never got my head around with the DC-6, and I really need to go read about it properly, is you can inject water into the cylinders as well. I think that's to do with changing the density. So yeah, it's that whole gas relationship of a combustion engine. But yeah, the DC-6, to get more power, you can actually inject water into the cylinders, or spray it, I guess. So that you're talking about density instead of pressure, and then you get into physics, and I didn't do physics at A level, so. So we're still at 10,000 feet, aren't we? Oh yeah, I was just accelerating. I'm just reminding myself. So we'll go for indicated airspeed mode, which is down here somewhere. There we go. And come off the throttles, and it will dive for the floor. Again, we're coming down far more steeply than you normally might. Let's have a look at the map and see where we've got to. So about getting over 3/4 of the way through the route now. On the run in, we'll come back out of Canadian airspace back into Alaskan airspace in a moment. It does look amazing around here, doesn't it? So we're heading up here. Let's have a look at the map and familiarise ourselves. So we're going to be doing a dogleg in a moment, so we need to be careful. So maybe I do need that altitude after all. I'll hand fly if we need to. There's a way through. How much? What's the altitude? 1,200 meters, so about 4,000 feet ish. It's around that corner over there, isn't it? We'll see. So Patrick is asking, what is your favourite plane in the game at the moment? I don't know. I probably wind people up that I don't play favourites much, and I'm always jumping onto a different aeroplane, and I never become an expert at any one plane because of that, which is a bit of a shame. If I was going to pick a favourite, it would probably be the TBM 850 by Black Square. It's just good fun. Other than that, and this is going to sound really strange, the Cessna 152. The little basic Cessna 152 that comes with the sim. I think the reason for that, I did a series of videos about private pilot training and worked through the exercises that private pilots have to work through with the 152 over the course. I did it over the course of a few weeks, and I went and bought the books and did things like, you know, recovering from unusual attitudes and flying standard rate turns and ascending turns, descending turns, all sorts of things, crosswind landings, so side slip landings, crabbing landings, and I did it all in the 152, which it was good fun. I also like the Coronado 182RG is really good as well. I think this is just what the ground looks like around here. It's just mud with bits of trees here and there. It's like tundra, isn't it? There's no farmers' fields. Hasn't been for about 500 miles, probably 1,000 miles. This is just what it looks like up here. Right, yeah, so this isn't going to get away with it. I'm going to turn the autopilot off and hand fly for a bit. We suspected this might happen. So let's go lower to the ground so people can get an actual look at the ground.
500.
It is, it's just like pasture land, isn't it? Or it's wild. This is what the wild looks like. Fighter plane turn in our King Air. Oh, we're going the wrong way. I've just realised.
500.
Let's cut through this cutting here. We turned one too early, where I was busy looking at the ground and not looking at the map. Thankfully we're going really fast, or we were going really fast. Need to be
500.
careful. Have we got a way out of here if we can't get the altitude in time? I think we'll be fine.
500.
I was just worried about torque then for a minute because I really slammed the engines forwards for a few moments. You're usually okay for a few moments, but not much longer than that. There we go. We're fine. We cut the corner off.
$500.
Funny, whenever I find myself going into a narrow valley with a climb at the end, I'm always looking for, okay, do we have enough room to turn around just in case? Obviously in the real world you'd be thinking, what if I have an engine failure? So having, you know, a strategy in the back of your head. But this is a twin, which helps. I did have an engine failure. Was it this I had it in? I can't remember. During the world tour, we were over Switzerland somewhere, and I had to feather one of the engines and fly basically like a route through the mountains to get into somewhere to land. How low can we go into this river? Trouble is, this thing, the roll rate isn't very good on it, so you can't really react very quickly to go doing silly games flying at extreme low level. See what I mean? At maximum roll there, look. But it doesn't help I'm going so fast. If I slowed down, the roll rate would probably increase. Someone's asking why so low. Just to make a change and to avoid just being on autopilot all day long. Should we climb back up then? Go back for 5,000 feet, put it back on autopilot. It's on nav mode, it's on GPS, so it's going to go back. We're almost on the track anyway. And let it go for 5,000. Hopefully. Let's see if it will stop at 5,000 this time. I don't think it's going to. straighten the camera up. We're not far away from the destination now. Well, I say that. Still quite a way to go. So 70, about 80, 90 miles to go. If we measure it on as the crow flies, 94. So about 100, taking into account the valleys. It's just coming up to 5,000 and it should wind it back out automatically because of the altitude preselector. Let's see if it does. Yep, there it goes. So we're still at standard barometric pressure. We really shouldn't be at these sort of altitudes, especially as we're coming into Alaska. So what you could do is go to a nearby airfield. Has this got a flight service station? 122.6. I wonder, let's have a look, see what information we can get from any of these nearby airfields. If I press scroll lock. Edmonton Centre. Contact Edmonton Centre.
Beechcraft Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra 5,000 feet. Beechcraft Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Edmonton Centre altimeter 29.92 radar contact continue.
Okay, so he hasn't told me off for having... There we go, we're just crossing into the US, look.
1.3.2 Beechcraft X-Ray Golf Sierra. Goodbye.
So watch the comm. Oh, you have to do it here. Okay, and now it's done it, look. And then contact.
Center, Beechcraft Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra 5,000 feet. Beechcraft Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Anchorage Center altimeter 29.9.
Oh, I guess we used preset weather, didn't we? So the barometric pressure is 2992. It's not that it's standard. That is the barometric pressure. So can we see where we're going yet? Not yet. That's too far away. But we were going to see if we could talk to this airfield that's coming up, Haynes. Yeah, 2992.
Sky condition clear. Temperature 15 Celsius. 2.13 Celsius. Altimeter 29.92.
So if you want to know how to stop that, because that's obviously a repeating tape, all you need to do is switch to the standby frequency. Or, you know, put a different frequency in your comm radio and it will shut it up. Yeah, we were in Canada briefly. That's why we had the handover, like when we came over the border there. So we've been crisscrossing over between Canadian and US airspace as we're flying along the valleys. We're back in US airspace now, in Alaska. So what's the name of this bay? Chilkoot Inlet. Well, that's not the bay, is it? Favourite channel. Maybe that piece doesn't, or maybe it is favourite channel then. Okay. And then Fritz Cove takes us in towards Juneau. We're getting there, slowly. This is 2020, for those that are watching and wondering. This is just stock 2020. And if you're wondering why we have no weather on, I'll show you why. It's not as bad as it was, but look at the ice. Oh my word. So obviously we could have combated the ice with the anti-ice measures on the aeroplane, but yeah, fun times. 21 centigrade in the cockpit, wonderful. So there's Haynes that we were just looking at. About to fly past it. So we can drop down now to a couple of thousand feet, I guess. Drop to 3,000 to begin with. Can ice overwhelm the heaters? I don't know. Again, that's the book information. That if you knew the aeroplane properly, you would know the limits of its capabilities. I would imagine yes, you could, but I wouldn't. It would be rates of change that would kill it. Not so much once it's up and running. I went to Finland many years ago with my dad, and we flew a leg. We went to Turku. The initial flight was to Helsinki, and then to get from Helsinki to Turku, we had to go on a dash of some description. I think it was a dash. It may have been an ATR. I'm not sure. And while we were waiting at Helsinki airport, they had what looked like fire engines outside, but they obviously weren't, spraying the parked aircraft with thousands of litres of de-icer. It was quite a thing to behold. So just before while you were boarding, the plane was being absolutely drenched in de-icer. Okay, so we're going to fly right down the middle of this channel. Let's go and open the engines up and get some speed on towards our destination. So we are going to go the length of this stretch of water, which is about 50 miles, 60 miles, and that will take us straight into Juneau. Should we get some speed on? Let's go, and as long as we don't over torque the engines, we'll be fine. He says as he pushes the needles past 100%. Let's get them just under 100. Are there any other airplanes around? Let's have a look. So if I put the labels on, can't see any. It's amazing how few there are actually. You'd expect normally to see 1 or 2 labels crop up. I guess this is in the middle of nowhere though, isn't it? And I think I've got the auto-gen traffic switched off maybe. Yeah, just reading the comments there from J. Ross, the TBM 850 is very, very good. To be honest, the only reason I chose this tonight is because it can do 300 knots at a push. Obviously not at this altitude, but although looking at our ground speed, we're 265, yeah, if we were up at 20,000 feet, we'd be whistling along. But then you get to see nothing, so... So we'll get a fairly good readout once we get past the next waypoint, which is in 1.5 minutes time. 7 minutes or 6.5 miles to go. How are we doing on fuel? Lots. We haven't even used half the fuel. Look, this thing's got a colossal range. Okay, I guess we could go and get the radios ready and fly. What's the wind doing on the ground at Juneau? Oh, it's an offset ILS though, isn't it? I forget that. 120 degrees, 15 gusting 30 knots. Oh, that's great. So we might have a bit of an adventure landing. So runway 08 then. And to be honest, we've got good visibility. We don't need to fly the ILS. But we may do an orbit first, just to get a look. And then I guess you come in. The reason there's like 2 hills here, look. So that's the reason the ILS is there, to take you in between them. I guess we can tune it in. 109.9, course of 71 degrees. And if we put this on, yeah, we're just about to change look, so 6.5 minutes until we're down at the next waypoint. 28 miles to run. What I was going to do is get the course ready. So was it 70... Sorry, the ILS course, 71 degrees. And then we'll use the ILS beam, I guess, just for a bit of fun on the way in. Something to do, isn't it? Haha, Mike's gone and bought the Flying Iron Spitfire. I took one for the team this week. I need to write to Airplane Heaven. I went and bought the P-51. And the P-47, is it? And the P-51 is got problems, all sorts of problems, to the point that you can't really get it off the runway unless you, it's like threading a needle. There's obviously one of the sim updates along the way has broken it. Either that or one of the updates to the aeroplane has broken it. It's become almost impossible to get off the ground. But I want to email. I'm not going to do a video with it. I was going to do a video with it in the week and I gave up. I went and did something else instead. I'd rather not be negative about it rather than reach out. I'll reach out to Airplane Heaven and see if they have got any updates in the works for it. I bet they have. They must know. Okay, so looking at this, 4 minutes out. We'll switch the CDI mode over when we get a little bit closer. So if we drop down to... Let's have a look at this. So that will be 8 miles. Have we got it on Navigraph? We got a proper chart. Wrong program. So... Flight information, open charts for approaches, RNAV runway 8, pin it, open it. Really? Okay, is it just a bit of... I think this has gone wrong, hasn't it? Let's turn the weather off. Yeah. So this, according to this, they haven't got... Oh, there we go. But this looks different. 109.9, 71 degrees. No, it's correct. Offset, and there's the runway. Yeah, okay. We're whistling in towards it, but we are way too high. There's that hill I was on about. So let's go manual. CDI over to VOR mode. And it hasn't got a glide slope. I just realised that. There's no closed end on that. So it has got DME. So what you'd have to do in the real world is use the distances with the heights on the diagram to figure it out. You know, to know if you're too high or too low. Okay, let's lose some speed. And switch the altitude alert off. So if I just hold it at 2,300 feet for a while, maybe bleed back down to 2,000 feet. And let the speed fall off. There's the runway. Let's keep an eye on the CDI then. So obviously the course is showing the runway direction relative to us. Yes, there's a little aeroplane, and so we need to do a left turn in a moment. So yeah, we're lined up with it, look now. But the low point in the hill is over to one side. Still waiting for the CDI to kick in. Here it comes. Flaps are coming down.
$500.
Try the reverses out. Very cool. Reverse pitch works really well. Oh, I suppose I should be parking over here. Yeah, not by the gates. I've got no business parking over there. Should park in between these two. Don't know if it'll fit actually. Oh, it's a bit tight. Okay, so Should we go and watch the propeller spin now? It's a bit late doing that, wasn't I? Trying to remember what I switched on. So I'm pretty sure this thing remembers where all the switches are, so it pays to put things back. So next time you don't get any strangeness going on. Anyway, so there we go. I think, does the door work in this? No, it doesn't. I forgot that. The earlier black square aeroplanes used the stock models from the sim, so they've just replaced the innards. There we go. We've made it in one piece to Juneau. Whew. So someone's asking what controllers I use. I've got the Thrustmaster, what's it called? The Airbus Captain's Pack, I think it's called. So the Thrustmaster replica stick and quadrant of an Airbus, which is pretty flexible, and you can use the switches for most things. Although saying that, I don't configure anything except the primary flight control switches usually. Unless I'm flying an Airbus, I don't use any of the special switches that are on it. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I'll go and post this up as a blog post, and I'll hopefully see you all again fairly soon. Okay, take care. That was fun. Oh, let's go and have a quick look on Volanta, see what my landing rate was. Uh, 144 feet per minute. There you go. All right. See you all soon. Take care.